Okay, we are live. What is up? This is John Wick for the win, the emoji movie for the lose here. Today, I am going to be doing my top 10 least favorite horror movies of all time, aka the worst. Now, before we get into the list, I have a few dishonorable mentions. And they are The Bye Bye Man, Troll 2, Jaws the Revenge. Let's see if I could think of any horror movies. Oh, The Wicker Man, The Haunting, the Psycho remake, and oh yeah, the remake of Poltergeist. All right, let's get down. Number 10 goes to Texas Chainsaw 3D. Oh my god. This was one of the worst movies I've seen in 2013. Like, oh my god. This was atrocious. The CGI looks so bad. You can't even tell if it's real or not. The acting is terrible. Some of the worst acting I've seen in a film. The editing is atrocious. Leatherface in this film does not look like Leatherface at all. At least in the original Texas Chainsaw films, he looked more like Leatherface. Although I did really care for the 2003 remake. At least the 2003 remake is better than this. At least that film is more subtle with its plot. This film does not really have a plot. And the gore looks so fake. Some of the worst gore I've ever seen in a horror movie. And the 3D. Oh my god. Some of the worst 3D I have ever seen. You know, the 3D in this movie is supposed to be good. No, it is not good. No. Oh, and by the way, this film was released in the beginning of 2013. So that gives you a little statement. The cinematography is also horrendous. And the way they shot this film is just brainwashing. It's throbbing me. Stop it. And I was like, stop it. The cinematography here is just throbbing me. My god. It has horror cliches here and there. The ending is... This was the worst ending I saw in 2013. Like, oh my god. I hated the ending. Overall, what do I have? Oh, there was one more thing. There was nothing good about it. Nothing. Overall, Texas Chainsaw 3D was just another Texas Chainsaw movie that nobody asked for. And it comes out as being one of the worst horror films I've ever seen. And that is why it is number 10. Number 9 is a film that was released this year, and it is Rings. Oh my god, Rings. What do I have to say about this film? It is just another sequel that nobody asked for. Period. Sequels that come out 10 to 20 years later don't work anymore. Get that through your fucking head, Hollywood. I gotta talk about the story here, because this story here is just nonsense. The script is so bad. The editing is real bad. The cinematography is downright terrible. The scares that portray in this film is just godforsaken jump scares. They go for every single horror cliche from jump scare after jump scare after jump scare after jump scare. They go for jump scares here and there. And these jump scares are nothing but sound effects that would never occur in real life. Okay, turn on this light. There we go. And oh my goodness. The acting is terrible. Matilda Lutz is god-awful in this movie. She cannot even save this movie. I cannot find one single redeeming thing in the film. Absolutely none. Overall, oh, and I gotta talk about the ending real fast. The third act of this film is awful. One of the worst third acts I have ever seen. And the ending is awful. One of the worst endings of the year. Overall, don't ever see Rings. Do not see Rings. It is one of the worst movies of this year. Also, one of the worst horror movies I've ever seen in my life. And that is why Rings comes in at number 9. Number 8 is a horror remake, and that is The Fog. What do I have to say about The Fog remake? I have no other words to describe this film other than it's just a stupid piece of shit that nobody asked for. The acting is awful. The story is absolutely nonsense. The script is horrendously written. The acting, I already mentioned the acting. The cinematography is horrendous. Horrendous cinematography, bad editing. The musical score is bad all throughout. And like I said with number 9, it has horror cliches. And I gotta talk about this. Oh my goodness. I have to talk about the CGI effects. The CGI. Holy shit. This has some of the worst fucking CGI effects I have ever seen. in a film in general. So, overall, oh, the ending. I have to talk about two more things. The editing. I already talked about the editing. The cinematography is awful. And the ending is a big fat insult to our intelligence. Overall, do not see The Fog. Do not see the remake of The Fog. It is absolutely not worth your time. Do not watch this film. No, do not watch this remake. But yeah. And that is why The Fog comes in at number 8. Number 7. We're in at number 7. My number 7 goes to a horror movie that was released in a horror movie that was released in 2012, and that is Chernobyl Diaries. Yeah, Chernobyl Diaries. What can I say about this goddamn film? The musical score is awful. The acting is terrible. Nobody gives a good performance in this film whatsoever. And one more thing about this film, this is just a found footage horror movie. You heard me right? It's a found footage movie. The cinematography is horrendous. As I said before, this is a found footage movie. Because the shaky cam is horrible. The editing is horrible. The script is bad. The direction was bad. The pacing is real bad. The repacing is sluggish. I don't know how long this was supposed to be, but this felt like 4 hours long. Wait, 4.5 is what I was going to say. And the ending is one of the worst endings I have ever seen in my entire life. Overall, do not see Chernobyl Diaries. It is not worth your time. I wouldn't even watch it online. It's horrible, lazy, and inexcusable. And that's why Chernobyl Diaries is number 7. Number 6. My number 6 worst horror film of all time goes to Silent Hill Revelation. This was my second worst film of 2012. I mean, oh my god. The direction was awful. The script was terrible. The acting was atrocious. Nobody gave a good performance in this movie. Nobody. The cinematography was terrible. One of the worst cinematographies ever made. And the pacing was real sluggish. And I gotta talk about the CGI effects. Because, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. The CGI effects. They are the worst effects. Or no, they are some of the worst effects I've ever seen in my entire life. especially the gore. The gore does not look real. At least with the first movie, the first Silent Hill, the gore actually worked. This gore here is just gore. That's it. It's just there. It's just gore for the sake of gore. The use of gore is terrible. And the ending is one of the worst endings ever. Overall, I hate this movie. I hate Silent Hill Revelation. Do not see it. I would not even rent it from Redbox. I wouldn't even watch it on Netflix or Hulu or something. Silent Hill Revelation is one of the worst movies to ever be based on a video game. And that is why it is number 6. We're in the top 5. Number 5 goes to The Hills Have Eyes, Part 2. Now, I thought that the first movie was pretty bad, but oh my goodness, this was awful. This was awful. This has some of the worst acting I have ever seen in a motion picture. The characters are just unlikable. The direction was horrendous. The writing is bad. The editing is all over the place. It goes for every single horror cliche. And the musical score is bad. And the use of gore in this movie baffles me very much. And the ending, as I said, is overall, I hate this movie. I hate The Hills Have Eyes Part 2 from 2007. Overall, do not see the sequel. It is one of the worst sequels I have ever seen in my life. It's a sequel that nobody even asked for, not even me. And that's why it's number 5. Number 4. My number 4 goes to Alone in the Dark. Oh my God. This has... Oh my goodness. I have to talk about this movie. What more can I say than this is a piece of shit based on a video game? Nothing good was in this movie. Absolutely nothing. Not one single thing I liked. Excuse me. This film is horrendous. The direction was bad. The writing is terrible. The acting is awful. The musical score is bad. The editing was horrendous to begin with. The pacing is real sluggish. I don't know how long this was supposed to be, but oh my goodness, this felt like 6 hours long. And the use of CGI is some of the worst CGI I've ever seen in a motion picture. The cinematography was horrendous. It was poorly shot since you guys know what they relied on. Let me get this out real fast. Shaky cam! And the ending is one of the most insulting endings I have ever seen. Overall, this Alone in the Dark is a piece of shit that's based on a video game. It's one of the worst movies based on a video game I have ever seen in my life. And that's why Alone in the Dark is number 4. Number 3. My number 3 pick for the worst horror film ever goes to Seed of Chucky. Actually, it's a tie. The Gallows and Seed of Chucky. I have to talk about The Gallows first. The piece of shit found footage movie that came out in 2015. Alright, let's get to The Gallows. The directing is... The Gallows has some of the most insulting jump scares I've ever seen. The direction was bad. The writing is atrocious. The acting is horrendous. The cinematography was awful. Since, you know, they relied on shaky cam. Good old shaky cam. No. I hate shaky cam. The ending is, yeah, as I said before, the ending is an insult to my intelligence. Now, let's talk about Seed of Chucky. What more can I say that this is just a bad way. This has some of the most atrocious acting I have ever seen in a motion picture. The direction was awful. The script was terrible. The acting, as I said before, some of the most atrocious acting I've ever seen in a motion picture. The cinematography was horrendous. Bad pacing. I don't know how long this was supposed to be, but this kept on going. It felt like 7 hours long. And the musical score was bad. And the ending is one of the worst endings ever made. Overall, The Gallows and Seed of Chucky are 2 pieces of garbage that never should be seen. They are both predictable, idiotic, and unscary. Oh, and by the way, the jokes in Seed of Chucky are not funny to begin with. Overall, these 2 films suck. Don't ever see them. If you ever see them, you will forever regret it. And that's why they are both tied for number 3. Now we're in the top 2. Oh boy. Oh, and I forgot to put The Darkness in my dishonorable mentions as well. Sorry about that. Number 2. Goes to The Darkness. What more can I say that this piece of shit is offensive to autistic people? It is the worst horror movie I've seen this decade. Like, oh my goodness. The way they treated autistic people in this just absolutely offended me. It is offensive to autistic people. The direction by Greg McLean, awful. The writing is some of the most atrocious writing I've ever seen. The acting is terrible. The editing is terrible. The pacing is real bad. This was 89 minutes, and this felt like 8 hours long. That's how long it felt. And we see every single horror cliche in the movie. Like, there's handprints written all over the place. Oh, and the TV turns on by itself, and the door opens by itself. Oh, and the ending to this film is a complete ripoff of Poltergeist. We had a shitty remake of Poltergeist back in 2015. Overall, I hate The Darkness with the burning passion. And I forgot to mention one scene. One scene! I'm not getting into spoilers. I don't care. I do not give a flying fuck. You should not see this film. There is a scene in this movie where the cat gets killed. They kill a cat. If there's one thing I have to say to Greg McLean and Jason Blum, fuck you both. Fuck both of you. Overall, I hate this movie with a burning passion. It is one of the worst movies I have ever seen in my life. It is as well the worst horror movie of the decade. Do not ever see this film. If you have not seen it, good. Don't. That's why it's number 2. And, oh God, number 1. I have a lot of reasons of why this film is horrible. Number 1, House of the Fucking Dead. Oh God. What do I have to say about this abomination to horror movies? Well, I have one thing to say to Uwe Boll. Fuck you! Fuck you, Uwe Boll. Fuck you. I have so many reasons what's wrong with this film. The story is absolutely nonsense. The direction is terrible. As I said, the direction is awful. Motherfuck you, Uwe Boll, you piece of shit. The writing is some of the most atrocious writing I have ever seen in a motion picture. The acting is... This has some of the most atrocious acting I think I've ever seen. And the jump scares, look, the jump scares are just so idiotic. The zombies in this film look so unrealistic and look like they had shit thrown at them. Coming. The editing is some of the worst editing I've ever seen in a film. The cinematography is awful. The musical score is awful. The pacing is awful. I don't know how long this was supposed to be, but oh my goodness. This felt like 11 hours long. This felt like 11 hours long. And as I said before, the ending is one of those endings that makes you feel angry. Overall, never, ever, ever, ever see House of the Dead. It is one of the worst movies I have ever seen in my life, and it is the worst horror movie I have ever seen. And that is why House of the Dead is number 1. Well, there you go. Those were my top 10 worst horror movies of all time. And sorry, I did not put The Apparition on my list. Or Paranormal Activity, The Ghost Dimension, or the marked ones. Or Sinister 2. They're all bad films, but they're nowhere near as bad as these. Oh, and the Amityville Horror and The Omen. The remakes. They were not on the list, sorry, but what are your top 10 least favorite horror films? I will see you guys later in the next podcast. Stay tuned for my review of hopefully Only the Brave and Jigsaw. Peace out.